So this week, Fortnite decided to bless us with yet another Star Wars collab, but instead of it staying strictly to the BR, it's infiltrated the other 3 core Fortnite modes as well. Sorry, Save the World players, we're not talking about you today. This is another step in the progression of Epic's vision for the metaverse. Now, I'm not one who's opposed to Epic's change and expanding the game into something bigger than BR. Even in the early days of Fortnite, it seems like the seeds for a metaverse were planted. However, why does it feel like the Find It in Fortnite metaverse feels like a downgraded version of what we had before, even though we're objectively being given more? When you start to think about it, the answer is simple. This is all a result of Epic's change in vision and direction that's been going on since really Chapter 3 Season 4. Epic Games has made a lot of controversial decisions over the last few months, if not the last couple of years, but this one, the one that we're going to talk about today, this is the worst decision that Epic Games has ever made. And to highlight this issue simply, Fortnite traded this for this. I'm a big advocate of telling stories through media. If you're going to make good content of any kind, you need to be a good storyteller. This is something that Donald Mustard knew and he was really good at. Fortnite used to have really compelling characters and a storyline. Chapter 2 Season 7 through Chapter 3 Season 2 were probably the best times to play Fortnite overall. Gameplay was good. We had consistent live events. It felt like Epic was experimenting with their storytelling style in so many different ways, and there was a clear focus and direction with where everything was going. It felt like every season built off of the last one. Then we got to Chapter 3 Season 3, and everything felt like it just started to get slow. Now, if you watched my video last week, you know this is because Epic Games took away the resources that Donald Mustard needed to further his vision for Fortnite. This was done for the sake of furthering the metaverse. We glanced over this topic last week, but I want to make sure the community and Epic Games understands how big of a misstep this actually was. Storytelling is the foundation of any great franchise. I want you to visualize your favorite story of all time. It could be an anime, a movie, a TV show, and I want you to pick one character from that series that you think is absolutely amazing. And then I want you to think about their story. Why did you fall in love with these characters? What is it about them that makes them so interesting to you? And if you really want to go the extra mile, how much money do you think you spent on that franchise? If I'm going to take something from my personal life that I've enjoyed, it's Transformers, which if you've been on this channel for a long time, that's no secret to you. Optimus Prime is my favorite character, and I know that I spent thousands of dollars on different figures and memorabilia over the last few years. Transformers is hands down my favorite childhood fictional property. But it couldn't be that way if the stories that they told amongst the various series that they had weren't good. Now let's relate this back to Fortnite. A lot of people will say that storytelling isn't as important because it's all about gameplay in the BR. As long as gameplay is good, the story doesn't really have to be compelling. And listen, although I agree with that point somewhat, it is true that you don't have to have a good story in order to have good gameplay. I would argue that good storytelling elevates gameplay to a completely different level. Now, some people will make the argument, well, Clark, even if that is true, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because the vast majority of the Fortnite community doesn't care about the story or good storytelling. They just want good gameplay. And to that I say, you're actually wrong. As someone who's played every season of Fortnite ever, I remember what it was like to play the game when the storyline first started. And you know when that was? All the way back in Chapter 1 Season 3 when everyone saw that comet in the sky. This is before any Fortnite theorist or any crazy 3.5 hour long videos explaining the entire storyline. I had people in my friends group theorizing about what was going to happen when that meteor hit the island. We were all logging into Fortnite every day to see how much closer the meteor got to us. Not to mention in the following season when it did hit, we were given new items in game that changed the gameplay dynamic up so much. Those hop rocks that came in with the meteor were one of the coolest things to experience for the first time in Fortnite. And once again, this goes back to my earlier point. This is storytelling having a direct influence on the loot pool and gameplay. Now listen, let me make this clear. You don't have to be a Mega 11 Fortnite storyline nerd in order to appreciate good storytelling. You don't need to know the ins and outs of the Imagine Order or the personal conflicts between the different members of the Seven in order to appreciate where Fortnite is going. However, a lot of Fortnite's success is due to them incorporating subtle storyline beats into the Battle Royale and expounding upon those details in live events. And a detail I think it's crazy that people ignore all the time is that live events is what really made people care about the storyline. It didn't matter if you were into Fortnite cosmetics, or a competitive player, or a casual BR player, or a creative warrior, every single person that enjoyed Fortnite loved the live events. It was a tradition. It's like going to your grandparents' house for Christmas. Think of the different subsections of the Fortnite community as your cousins that you get to see once or twice a year at family gatherings. Y'all may not agree on everything, you may not see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, but there's one thing you can all agree on: Grandma knows how to make a mean roast beef. And for the context of this analogy, the Fortnite live events are that roast beef. Now, if you look at Fortnite's history as like a big timeline, it was the middle of Chapter 2 where the storyline was really ramping up. Donald Mustard was setting up interesting characters. He was starting to world build a lot more. He was really wanting people to get attracted to this big meta narrative that he was telling through this video game. Even if you were someone like me who didn't have a lot of investment in the finer details of the story at that time, you at the very least were intrigued and wanted to see where things were going. There was a connective tissue between each season. The events of one bled into the next, and that made it more exciting to see the changes on the island. To put it simply, Fortnite had purpose. If Donald Mustard had have continued his vision for where he wanted Fortnite to go, I think over time more people would have cared about the storyline. See, it's easy to come up with arguments and say that people don't really care about the story when we only got a good storyline for such a small window of time. Yes, Chapter 1 had a story, and it was pretty good in the way that it was told. It was very simple, yet it was expounded upon through live events. But it was really Chapter 2 that laid down the foundation, no pun intended, of how amazing the storyline could actually be. I think the other thing that hurts the community the most is that when you look at the storyline, it feels like it's unfinished. Like there was so much more to tell, that we were just first starting to meet these characters and get to know them. And the moment we're starting to get used to them, they get taken away from us. We didn't get the time to really see the true character development and the true story arcs that Donald Mustard was trying to set up. We have so many questions that were left unanswered, so many characters that were being built up to be really intriguing, giving good backstories and motivations, characters that we could have connected with on a deeper level, and then they just disappeared. It's like if you meet a really cute girl, you've got great chemistry, you're hitting it off, everything's going great, you're thinking this is actually going somewhere, and then all of a sudden she tells you she's moving. And she's just gone. And so you're just sitting there, confused and hurt, thinking about what was and what could have been. This is the biggest reason why Fortnite Chapter 5 feels so weak, because this is the least level of investment we've had into Fortnite characters ever. And it sucks because we're sacrificing interesting original characters for the sake of other brands that are being brought into Fortnite. And this is what sucks the most, because we're sacrificing original, compelling characters and a well-thought-out narrative at the expense of other brands that have established identities. And in my opinion, this is where Epic made their biggest mistake. I love collabs, but I want to see Epic's characters interact with other pop culture icons. Can you imagine what it would have been like to have seen Dr. Slone interact with Optimus Prime? Dr. Slone, this character that had ties to the biggest villain in the Fortnite storyline, who tried to wipe out everybody on the Fortnite island. Now she's going through a redemption arc where she has to gain the trust of the people that she tried to kill at one point. And she does that through one of the greatest fictional father figures of all time, Optimus Prime. The conversations that they could have had, the redemption arc that Optimus could have taken her on, the idea that Dr. Slone, even though she had a troubled past, Optimus Prime saw good in her and potential to do better. That's who Optimus Prime is, and that was the story arc that should have been given to Dr. Slone. But it wasn't. See, that's the big issue with modern Fortnite. It's more invested in you buying into the nostalgia and joy from other IPs rather than propping up their own characters. Why give a character like the Foundation a good, well-thought-out backstory when we have Batman that we could bring in? Why feel sympathy for Jonesy and explore more of his family tree when we can just talk about Spider-Man instead? I'm all for collabs and I'm all for Epic Games making money, but the ironic thing is, Epic could have made more if they just had have propped up their own original characters more. If they had have made them characters instead of virtual action figures to buy in their item shop. The more invested you are in a character and their stories, the more money you typically spend. I guarantee you, if most of the skins in your locker had cool backstories or fun character interactions, you would probably be more enthusiastic to keep buying different versions of that character. It's the same reason why I own more than one version of Optimus Prime, because there's so many good ones out there. Now, some people are going to argue that because Fortnite is a battle royale, the nature of the game doesn't allow Fortnite to actually flesh out these characters, but that's just not true. As a matter of fact, there were 3 good ways that Epic used to build up characters. The first way was through storyline quests, the second was through seasonal trailers, and the third was through live events. And getting back to a point I brought up earlier, that's what makes Donald Mustard's retirement from Epic Games so tragic. Because looking back at that peak time of the Fortnite storyline, it was obvious that Mustard was experimenting and playing with different mediums that he could use to tell his character stories. Sometimes it was through the comic books, sometimes it was through the cinematic trailers, a lot of the times it was through the voice lines, but damn it, the best way to do that was always through the live events, and the best live event in my opinion was Chapter 2 Season 8's end event. I've always wanted Epic Games to return to having those really cool animated cutscenes. I don't want them just in trailers. I wanted to see them in live events, and quite frankly, that was the beauty of all these different mediums when it came to how Fortnite used to tell its story and give their characters development. It left you wanting more from that world. And because live events only happen once a season or every other season, it gave us time to resonate on the information we knew while being given little trickles of information sprinkled in throughout the course of a season. And of course, that got paid off at the end of the season when we built up to the next live event. This is why live events were so important, and it's really disappointing to think that we'll probably only get one a year moving forward now. But there's something more important that I want you to think about. If the storyline is in a bad state, or the seasons aren't being connected through the thread of storytelling, what good are the live events going to be, even if we get one big one at the end of every year? What substance are these live events going to have? Is it just going to be another commercial for the next big Fortnite chapter that we're going to get? And if that's the case, that just completely strips away the magic of what live events are quite frankly supposed to be. The magic that Donald Mustard wanted to keep so bad in his vision for Fortnite. So this message goes out to Charlie Wynn and all the other developers at Epic Games that work on Fortnite to make it a good product for all of us to enjoy. If you really want to capture your audience, if you really want to get us interested in Fortnite again and return Fortnite to some level of peak, you have to tell a good story. And for the handful of people that think that good storytelling isn't necessary, you can't give me a single good argument as to how good storytelling would negatively affect the Battle Royale, because quite frankly, we all know that it wouldn't. You don't have to do a lot of research into the Fortnite storyline to benefit from it. And I guarantee you, when you really think about it, a lot of the reasons why you're frustrated is due to bad storytelling. But to be fair, that's one of many different reasons, the rest of which you can find right here in this video. Until next time, I love y'all, and I'll catch you soon. Peace out.